Hospital Porter's pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV and welcome to Oxford. I'm here outside this really nice little house here. It looks a bit Lord of the Rings. This is outside the previous Oxford conspiracy tour I did, the Oxford Truth Tour. But where I am, I'm actually on South Parks Road, I think that's what it's called. And this is a part that's not part of my regular tour. If you want to find me on a map, behind me is Keble College. It's technically a red brick university, although it's not a red brick university. I'm just going to head to the Department of Physics. Now, that's behind that fence there. All right, so I'm just going to go and have a look at that, and I'll explain why in a minute. But I'm just going to go in there now. This is the gate. This is the entrance. I'm not going to film inside there because I'm not going to film inside the building because it is private. But I'm going to go in there. I'm actually going to go in there, and I'm going to secretly do a bit of secret recording. I'm just going to record the audio. All right, and I'll play that for you. But I'm not going to film the. I'm not actually going to shine my camera in people's faces. But anyway, this is the Oxford Department of Physics. The reason I'm here, and I touched on this in a previous video, my last UFO disclosure video, is this is the home. Somewhere inside the Department of Physics is the home of the Breakthrough Listen project. So let's go in there and have a look. Oh, hello. I wonder if it's possible to speak to someone who's involved with the Breakthrough Listen project. My name is Ben Emlyn Jones. I'm not from anyone. My name is Ben Emlyn Jones.
Scrupulously honest. Careful, yeah, let me let you through. And that's not getting it in.
Just my own.
No, sorry, I mean, who you'd like to speak to?
No, not really. It's here, that's all I know. No, maybe you can help. I just heard a rumour that they've actually managed to make contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. I've heard that. Oh, well, there's no such thing as just, but okay. I just wanted to come and ask and see if that's true. All right. Oh, no problem. No, it's okay. I'm not like a journalist or anything. So probably if they have done that, then I think they have an obligation to tell people. I think the people of this world have a right to know. I've got to go, but
I'm so sorry.
But I just thought I'd just come and see. I'll come at another time, yeah. Or I'll give them a call or something. Yeah. I'm sorry. I think I know what they say to me. They say, look, we'll probably be publishing a paper at some point, and until then we can't. They probably just say we can't say anything just now. I just it's been in newspapers. They may have contacted extraterrestrials, and it may have something to do with UFOs. I don't know, but it's on a distant planet. It's not actually on the Earth. But there are UFOs flying through the skies of our planet. So I just wondered if there's a connection. Oh well, thank you very much. That's all right, not a problem. Thanks for trying. You too. Bye bye. Well, guys, I have to apologise for the poor quality of that recording. I was secretly filming from my mobile phone, and I decided to rip the audio from that and use that. And obviously, it's not the ideal recording circumstances in a place like that when I'm sort of talking to someone and secretly recording. 2 points. I mean, first of all, there's not much really there I can tell you, except I went up to the receptionist and I asked to speak to someone from Breakthrough Listen, and she said she wasn't quite sure who it was. There was another receptionist there who knew more, and so that's okay. And I thought, can you help me? I've heard they've made contact with an extraterrestrial civilization, and she said, I don't know much about that. And I said, okay, not a problem. But I said, we do. I think if they have, the people of the world have a right to know. and you know, they should tell us. And I also asked, is there a connection to UFOs? Because, you know, UFOs are filming. UFOs, sorry, I'm sure they're filming us, yeah, but UFOs are filling the skies above our head. In fact, you may recognize this picture behind me. It's a slide from my SETI and UFOs talk, which I've done, and I've actually got several videos of it, including one I did, a very good one I did at East Anglia UFO Group, where Tony Buckingham used to run it, who was just lost. And of course, there's an encoded message in this, which you can probably see. You get, this is actually the Carl G. Jansky Very Large Array radio telescope in USA, New Mexico, and they got their antenna pointed at the sky, obviously looking at some distant globular cluster millions of light years away, looking for signals from the great beyond. But look, what's over? That's it. It's this one, right? Look, what's over? It's difficult. I've seen a mirror image of myself. What's hanging above them? Look at what's hanging above them. Look, see? Before my hand disappears, you can probably see it. There's one. What they're looking for is flying just above their telescope, and they can't see it. Anyway, I'm sure some of you now are going to try and like take the mickey out of me and cuck shame me and say, Ben, you should have just walked in there with your camera and pointed it at her and say, I want to speak to someone from the Breakthrough Listen Project now, and thump the table until you got what you wanted. All right, look, no, that's not how I do things. I do have respect for private property and for personal sovereignty. I'm not Charlie Veach, right? Okay, I'm not going to go in there. I'm not like him. I don't walk into places like this with my camera and I hold it up and I go, all right, I'm filming. And they say, you don't film. I'm allowed to film if I want. Oh, this is private property. You got to ask permission. I gave myself permission because I'm the great Charlie Veach and I'm irresistible to women. And I have thousands of them every night. And I'm just perfect and I'm big and no one can fight me because I'm so big and special. Yeah. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not that kind of person, all right? I don't do this Charlie Veach thing. So I hope that explains the situation. I know what would have happened. I mean, I didn't have time to hang around there and wait for her to go and dig someone up from Breakthrough Listen, even if they'd have come and spoken to me. I don't think they probably wouldn't have, or they come and spoke to me and said, we can't tell you anything. Because they probably would. They'd have just said, look, there's going to be a paper published and we can't tell you anything until then. So there. But I thought it was just worth doing, just in case someone happened to be around. And so the receptionist was a very nice lady. So apologies if she's watching. Apologies for the secret filming, or not secret filming, secret audio recording. You can hardly hear her anyway. But I think in these circumstances we have to be bold without being egotistical. That is, if in times when you may pick up something interesting, you have to try and record it. While preserving the sovereignty and individuality and privacy of people as much as possible. But at the same time, like I said, without being egotistical, without going in there and deliberately flouting those boundaries for the sake of just content for your YouTube channel, which is, let's face it, that's what Charlie Veach does, doesn't he? I'm giving myself permission. Oh, I'm so special. I can't help watching him though. He's like, it's like Stephen Cambion. I've got to keep watching him. Anyway, guys, I'll return you now to the location shot, which I was doing earlier. Okay, well that didn't work very well. That lady, she's a very nice lady, the receptionist. Just in there it was, but she didn't know anything, and I wasn't going to hang around and wait because she said she'd have to get another receptionist to tell me where to go for the Breakthrough Listen project. But anyway, it's somewhere in this building. I mean, it's big. It's not just this. It's this old bit here. You see, that's part of it, and it goes along to this sort of middle-aged bit, and there's this new bit that actually wasn't there a couple of years ago. It's actually brand new. I remember because I was here. But anyway, somewhere in that building they got their offices. This, of course, is. Oops, I'm going into shadow again. This is, of course, Yuri Milner's project to try and seek out new life and new civilization on distant stars by checking radio signals. And this is an old project. I'll put a link in the description box to my SETI video, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And you can watch that for a bit of background. I'm not going to keep filming here for too long. I'll go and do some studio work as well, so to give you some more details. But basically, you know, I did an entire presentation. I did a very good one at the AwakeCon, Tad Tajinder's conference. That went very well. But right now, what happened was Yuri Milner, who's a Russian oligarch, decided to spend his money wisely, just like Trump and Elon have, and he decided to put his fortune into finding aliens, finding aliens in the universe out there. So this involves basically pointing the telescopes at the sky and trying to pick up radio signals. Now that's a gross obviously it's more complicated than that. That's a gross oversimplification, but that's basically what it involves. Now it's a deceptively simple thing. You just like point a telescope at a certain star, and a little green man says, "Hello, I'm E.T. I'm phoning home," etc., etc. No, it's far more difficult than that. Far more complicated. And also, when you consider the facts of the matter, it's a little bit redundant, isn't it? As I said to Steve Bassett when I interviewed him, they're looking for something on distant stars when it's sort of like it might be flying a dozen yards above our head. The aliens aren't out there. The aliens have already found us and they're here. That's the irony. And obviously I'll explore the depths of that particular conundrum in more detail later. I'm just going to take a little more walk around the building here. I'll take a little bit more of a walk around it. It's kind of like, it's quite common 21st century architecture actually. Big blocks and pipes and slabs of sort of like, I think it's metal. Yeah, I think that's metal. And you can't see, I don't think you can see much through the windows. Certainly these ones are opaque because they're on the ground floor. I'll just go back and see if I can see anything through the windows on the upper floor. Maybe they've got some aliens up there for all I know. Let's see, there seems to be offices up there. You can't see an awful lot. That looks like a library. Any aliens? No, that's a computer, that's a library. Yeah, there's that, I don't know what that is up there. There's a strip light anyway. No, I don't think looking through the windows is going to find us anything. This is the place anyway. It's somewhere in here. I mean, obviously the Department of Physics is not just about aliens. It is about everything to do with physics. So that's Einstein, Newton, Stephen Hawking, all those kinds of things. Oh, here we go. Oh, fire exit. Ground floor. No, they can't get in there. And so the purpose of it, I'll go around the other side so you can see more around the other side. There's you can see more of this. Oh, I like the mural. That's something from my graffiti video, isn't it? I don't know what that's meant to be. Particles, protons and atoms flying through space, I don't know. And here's these three pillars, which serve some sinister purpose, I'm sure. And that's where the scientists park their bikes. Because all scientists in Oxford have bikes, because they all ride them around the city, and it's something you often see when you're here. It's what you see in the tourist postcards as well. I don't know what more you can see there. But anyway, obviously very few listen, I think, only has a very, very small staff. The receptionist I spoke to didn't know who to look for or what. As you heard, she asked me a few questions about myself and things like that. Oh, they're building a new cricket pavilion by the look of it. It's nice. Wrong time of year for it. But there's someone in there, look. They've got the Nordics in there, I think. I think I spotted a Nordic. Is that one of them? No. I'm not sure. Looks like a kind of conference room. No. It's a big place. Like this building here is also the Department of Physics. It's an older building. It's a very, very extensive structure. It could be anywhere in any of these buildings, the old ones, the middle-aged ones, or the new ones. Yeah. So the reason I'm bringing it up, and I touched on this in a previous video. I also covered it on the last Third Rail Radio. Is that it's been in the news that they've had success. So the long-awaited signal from the aliens has arrived. Nothing in there. Where do you think they put them? They probably put them in the old bit. They probably give them a tour. Actually, I think they probably put them in the attic. That's going to be one of these upper floors, I think. That's the most likely location. But it actually was in the news a couple of days ago. And Professor Simon Holland, he actually did a video saying about, I've been interviewed for the Daily Mirror and the Daily Mail. I don't know if you want to follow his channel. He's He's an amazing character, actually. He's an amazing chap. It's not just his sort of Einstein hair and his weird look. It's the fact that I started following him when he was a skeptic, but he's done a kind of like, not exactly a 180, but I'd say he's done at least a 120 or a 125 degree turn. He's sort of almost a believer now. It's really quite remarkable. And here we have the majesty of the University Parks ahead of you, ladies and gents. Very nice place. Anyway, what he said was that he'd said he was contacted by someone on the inside who gave him anonymously who gave him information. Now, if one of us woo-woos did that, the skeptics, they'd be on to us like nobody's business, and indeed so was Holland. You know, well, who is it? You can't say who it is, but oh, I got my source on the inside. I can't tell anyone. Yeah, they all say that, mate. You could be making it up. But he says this is someone inside the European Union SETI program, because the EU has like a massive set. Doesn't mean I changed my mind about Brexit, by the way. Still glad we're out. But it's interesting that they have this network of telescopes and it covers most of the world. I mean, it covers every part of the sky, because they're everywhere from. They've got one in, I think, in near Manchester, and they go all the way down south to Namibia, which is near the south coast, southern extent of Africa. So there's a very, very big network of telescopes listening for the extraterrestrial beings coming out here. Oh my God, the doctor's back. Is it Tom? I hope it's Tom Baker. Yeah, he's the last doctor I really liked. The only one I've really liked, actually. Oh God, they're all over the place. It's the Time Lords convention. Look at it. That's the master. Half of the Gallifrey refugees are here. Look at them. You see that? Sorry, I'll zoom in a bit. I sometimes forget I can sometimes see things you guys can't through the camera. So it's been I'll say more because I'll show you the news article about it, but Holland is now very famous because he's kind of famous because he's been in the Daily Mirror, which is not really something I'd be particularly proud of if it were me. Well, I have been in the bloody mainstream press, and it was a disaster. But so we're now just waiting. We're waiting for more information. But basically, what's happened is that the Breakthrough Listen project. I mean, I covered this it happened a couple of years ago, and I actually covered it on a Panama Voice, and I'd forgotten all about it because it didn't have all the drama and excitement of like Contact, when Jodie Foster's character picks up, oh my God, I can hear something from my earphones. It's aliens. They're sending us mathematical formulae, and suddenly there's all this massive struggle, and they're all like frantically, recording and analysing and things like that. No, it didn't happen like that. It was real science is very, very different. In real science, it's a slow, very calm, very methodical process that's done privately, and more people come into it and things like that, and eventually it comes to the point where they let the public know. But so it was actually over a year before they even said anything. But this they have picked something up, and it's not just a one-off like the WOW signal. The WOW signal happened in 1977, and it was just this single blip of high energy electromagnetism, and no one knew what it was. But the astronomer involved wrote WOW on the computer printout, which is why it's called that, because it was so incredible. Same with the LGMs. Now the LGMs was 10 years earlier. Susan Jocelyn Bell, an astronomer from Northern Ireland, picked up a repetitive pulsing object. Now, unlike the WOW signal, this wasn't just a one-off. It was maintained, kept going. They found out later it was actually a new type of astronomical object called a pulsar. She got a Nobel Prize for that in the end. Yeah, it's this is different though. This is different. This is that's been studied carefully before anyone said anything. Just they want to get it wrong. And now they've reached the point where they're ready to tell the world, and this could be the ultimate October surprise. Well, especially if Trump can somehow get himself involved in it, like say, well, I gave some of the money to Yuri Milner, or something like that. If he can somehow put himself at the centre of the story, that'd be a brilliant October surprise, wouldn't it? What it is, this signal's different. This signal is continuous. It hasn't faded out. And it's been carefully studied, it's carefully analysed. I'll show you more. As I say, when we get back to the studio, I'll show you more. and it's sustaining. And what's more, it's clearly on a planet orbiting the sun, this star, because they know that because it has like what they call drift. It has a drift rate. A drift. This is where you have what you call a Doppler effect. Hello, hi. Major festival. All right, what's going on here? Anything interesting?
Yesterday was Oxford Marathon.
Oh, I see. Right.
We're just getting everything moved.
Looks more like the Time Lords are getting together. Oh, well, I see. Right. Oh, cheers. Thanks for letting us know. I see. The marathon. All right. So it was kind of like it has a drift rate, which means now everything in the universe has a drift rate caused by the Earth rotating the sun. It produces in electromagnetic signals a Doppler effect, and the Doppler effect is where the actual the wavelength is shifted because of the direction you're travelling. The apparent wavelength is shifted, and you find this with I don't bloody believe we've got an American football pitch. Good grief, it's a gridiron, look. Oh, my goodness me. I wish the Yanks can keep that, as far as I'm concerned. It's not a proper sport. It looks like a punch-up in a motorcycle race pit stop. Anyway, stop. I'm going off topic. I'm getting distracted by my frustrations over bad sports being exported. What's happening now? Can I get past here? Also, anyway, yeah, the Doppler effect is caused by the wavelength of anything you see is relative to your own motion. So, for example, you see it with sound a lot. It's a very, very regular thing with sound. If a vehicle, emergency vehicle, is moving towards you, as you may have heard on some of the videos I do, you may hear on this video, as it moves towards you, its pitch is raised. As it passes you and moves away, the pitch lowers. And these pitches, this is because of the movement of the vehicle. And with electromagnetism, it's exactly the same. So everything in the universe has this drift rate. But the thing is, what they found out, and Professor Holland talks about this. I don't think he's a real professor, by the way. I think this is what he calls himself, because he kind of looks the part. What he discovered was that he take into account the drift rate of the Earth. There was a second drift rate, and this was caused by, they worked out, it's coming from a planet. It's coming from a planet called Proxima b. And what's really interesting is this isn't far away in cosmic terms. It isn't far away in Earth-like terms. It's incredibly distant. It's 4.5 light years. But in astronomical terms, it's quite close because it's actually orbiting the nearest star to the Earth, apart from the Sun. So it's the closest exoplanet to Earth, and it has this strange signal coming from it. I'll go into more details when we get back. I'm just going to head back to the studio now and continue this video there. Right, I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot more comfortable and drier in my little studio here with my little alien thing behind me, which is really, really cool. As I said, you know, if you've not seen my SETI at home talk, I think I mentioned this. My SETI at home, my SETI and UFOs. There's many different versions of it. So, for example, this one is good. This is me at the AwakeCon 2017 event, which is it's probably the best version of that and the most concise. So please do check those out. But now this is really, really strange, because this first came to my attention many years ago. This whole issue, and I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't do much with it, and I actually added it to the end of another article on another subject, almost as a sort of like a side. It's this one here. Here we go. It's this one here, Pentagon FOIA on debris, which I posted Monday, the 22nd of February, 2021. A long time ago now, we're talking here. And I went through this issue, this thing with, as it says, Pentagon FOIA debris. And then in the second paragraph, I said this. I feel we're heading in a specific direction. I'll be covering certain developments in more detail in the coming days and weeks. But we have a new probe on Mars called Perseverance. And as we said, there's a chance that this might discover life. It's specifically designed to discover life. And I said here, we also have breakthrough listen detecting another possible wow signal, this time from Proxima Centauri, the nearest star to the Earth. This is far from certain, but the very fact it's been talking about is significant. And that is literally all I wrote at the time. That's literally all I said about it, but I did mention it. And then Professor Simon Holland comes on the scene. This guy here, let me show you him. I'll play this, but this is his latest video, Alien Tech Signature Found, which is directly related to this article in which he's interviewed. And this. I mean, God knows, talk. I know these online papers don't do. They always choose clickbait headlines, but this is it. Exclusive. Huge alien announcement could happen within weeks, as Professor says. We found it. This is by Michael Moran, who is the science editor for the Daily Mirror. So he probably he's the science editor. The science editor for Daily Mirror. It's probably somebody. He's probably someone who can weigh an apple and say, "Blimey, Newton was right. It does have gravity on it." That's probably the Daily Mirror science editor. But he says here that he talks about this here. A British academic believes he stumbled on the most world-changing piece of news in recorded history. Well, maybe not quite, but it's a start. I won't actually show you this while I'm reading it. It's just a text to see. If I see it, I'll stop it when you see a photo. Professor Simon Holland, who's produced documentaries for NASA-funded projects, including a project pinpointing Earth-threatening asteroids, and this is true. I mean, Simon Holland is primarily a media guy. That's his work. He's a science journalist, but primarily his work is in the media. He boasts, and I checked it out, and it's true. In the 70s, there was a really good adaptation of John le Carré's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with Alec Guinness. It's very good. He did work on that. Two rival groups of astronomers are in a race to publish the first confirmed evidence of an extraterrestrial civilization. Oh, right. Well, that's not the first confirmed evidence in my view, but I'll come on to that subject. Why I think it's not. But I mean, it's interesting there was a race now, because I think sometimes a bit of healthy competition injected into the issue may be the only way to get disclosure done. If someone is thinking, well, one might do disclosure, I might not, but and then someone says Putin's going to do it if you don't. Right, let's get it done. We can't let the Ruskies beat us. So yeah, but I think when you inject this competition into an issue, the ego actually works. Egos can be your downfall, like with Mr. Future. But if your ego can be used in a healthy way to drive you along to achieve things, so in this case, it's absolutely right. So, he told the Mirror, we found. What's his voice? Hang on, let me just show you a little clip just so you know what he sounds like, because he's got this kind of, look at his hair and everything. Some of his earlier videos, his hair is even wilder. But he's had his hair cut, unfortunately. But this is his channel. I love his avatar there. Let's have a look at one of his early videos, because he's recently cut his hair. So let's look at an older one. Where is he? Here we are. Look, this is.
Imagine a craft with no visible means of propulsion, no wings, no cockpit. It casts a shadow. It breaks the laws of physics. It can move from.
He looks like a scientist, doesn't he? You can just look at him and think, "Is that bloke a scientist?" He just kind of looks like one. He really he fits the bill, doesn't he? He fits the bill. And it's interesting because this video is about the Tic Tac. Tic Tac human technology, because he asked whether Tic Tacs might be man-made anti-gravity craft rather than alien. I disagree with that, but it's interesting that he's doing this. He's actually gone on to this now. He's gone on to this particular area, because I find him a confusing person, because I wrote this article way back a couple of years ago. Skeptic Copium. You don't have to. Here's the URL. You can read that. This is not really relevant to the subject, but that's my first article about Simon Holland. That he is he went from being a skeptic to a believer. Now, when I say believer, he's not a full believer. He's not a whacked out woo woo like me. Okay, so he's not like quite on my scale, but he's gone from being like a diehard total skeptic to someone thinking, is this true? Maybe it's true. Rather like the person Professor Chris French was talking about at ASAP, and I mentioned that in my report, that the head of the New Zealand Skeptic Society is sort of like he's fallen off the fence. You know, he's jumped off the wagon, and he's kind of like he's crossed the aisle to the evil side. So. And Simon did this. Now he didn't do it in a way which is to say, all right, I've changed my mind, everyone, I'm now a believer. He didn't do that. He's done it in a much more crafty, slow way. And this is actually far more common than someone just waking up one morning and saying, right, I'm not a skeptic anymore, I'm quitting. I did this. If you watch my video about Michael Shermer, I go into more details there. But, you know, these road to Damascus kind of like lightning strikes of wisdom, or if you call it wisdom, or change of mind, don't just happen overnight. I've charted the career of Brent Lee, and I've mentioned that before. They happen. Usually, a person starts to have doubts. Sometimes they go quiet for a while. Then very slowly. Then they'll come out, and what they'll do is they'll often try to. They'll sometimes do it in a way in which they don't acknowledge the change has happened. I mean, Neil Sanders certainly has done this. In other words, they say, well, look, I've always been like this and there's no difference. When in fact this very obviously was. Simon's a bit like that. And what's more, I think possibly he is driven by a sense of self-benefit, which is fair enough. That's not a criticism. We care about ourselves. There's nothing wrong with caring about yourself. I think maybe he saw the writing on the wall a couple of years ago after the New York Times and revelations, and he's been quietly and carefully maneuvering himself up the starting grid to try to get in as close to the pole position as possible when the light goes green. That is, I think, you're going to see quite a lot of that. And actually, Michael Shermer, as I've said, you don't just wake up one morning and find, oh, I'm not a skeptic anymore. The same way that Brent Lee didn't wake up one morning and say, all right, I'm not a skeptic I'm not a believer anymore. I'm going to be a skeptic from now on. That very rarely happens. It very rarely happens. As I explained I'm referencing so many other publications here, but as I explain in the best video for this is my, the one, what's it called? I can't remember the title of it. You guys probably know. It's the one where I do that review of Skeptic of the North. What's it bloody called? Skeptic of the North. What's he talking about? Oh, it annoys me when I can't remember. It'll be on my skeptic. Oh, by the way, this is a good opportunity actually to show you my skeptic portal. I do have a skeptic portal. Here we go. Everything you want to know about skeptics and was afraid to ask is here. Oh, yeah, I've done a conspiracy deconversion course, wasn't it? Where is it? Here we go. Conspiracy theory deprogramming. Yeah, this video here. Watch this one. This one's got all the details. But I do go through this thing with Skeptic of the North, and I explain the issue connected to it. So that's what Simon's been done. That's a basic overview. He's gone from being really a very, very conventional skeptic, I'd say, very, very middle of the road, sort of Randian, Chris Frenchian, Susan Blackmorian kind of skeptic, to being on the fence. I mean, he's certainly on the fence. I'd say he's off the fence now. He's done a lot of live streams with John Burroughs of Rendlesham Forest. And he's not gone from saying, oh, they're definitely alien and now we're being invaded by aliens. He hasn't done that. He said some of them don't match human technology and he doesn't think they're man-made. Others, but then he does think there's like a human-made element to it in the sense that reverse engineered craft, radiation, things like that. And I agree with him on that. I think I disagree on the amount. I mean, for example, a lot of people say things like, oh, all aliens are there's no such thing as aliens, it's all anti-gravity craft. Of course, that's not true. The other extreme is, oh, we've got no anti-gravity. Everything you see you don't recognize in the sky is actually alien. That's not true either. But I think I probably estimate the amount of man-made craft versus extraterrestrial craft far lower than most researchers do. And I've explained my reasons why that is on other videos. I can't keep referencing other videos and talking about other videos because it's off topic. Let's get back to the Daily Mirror article. He told the Mirror, "We found a non-human extraterrestrial intelligence in our galaxy, and people don't know about it." Simon explains that he's been given information by a contact within Mark Zuckerberg's Breakthrough Listen, a privately funded initiative aimed at finding evidence of civilizations beyond the Earth. Right. Now, if we did this, right, if one of us did this on the one on the woo-woo side, right, the full woo-woo side, the skeptics would pounce on us, and they'd be right to do it, and the backslappers would. They do, don't they? If you came out and said, "Well, I know something about this, right, behind the scenes. I've got this secret insider who gives me information, and this is what he's telling me. But I'm afraid he has the evidence. He can't give it to me, and I'm afraid I can't tell you who he is because he wants to remain anonymous." And they'll say, "Ben, you could be making that up. You provide no evidence. You just say you got a secret insider." Well, they all say that, don't they? That's what they would do. The skeptics and backslappers would tell us that, and they'd be right to, up to a point. I think backslappers in particular are too cynical, as you know. But honestly, it's a fair comment. Now, what basically happens is it started with, of course, Breakthrough Listen 1. Now, BLC 1, I actually mentioned that in the article. I better explain what BLC 1 is. The Breakthrough Listen project, which is organized by, he mentions Mark Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg's one of the people involved. But really, Elon Musk is as well. But really, the driving force is Yuri Milner, the Russian oligarch. The point was that Milner and these other people were going to, their plan was to reignite the whole SETI movement using their own private finance rather than the state actors who've been doing it up till now, NASA and the US Academy of Sciences and things like that. Okay. So they'd say, we'll do it now. We'll do it with our own private money, and we'll see if we can find a signal out there again. So they began for the first time in like 70 years since the SETI movement first was founded by Frank Drake and Carl Sagan and those people. Suddenly now we're going to try it ourselves again and have another look. And indeed, they found Breakthrough Listen Candidate 1. BLC 1 stands for Breakthrough Listen Candidate 1. Candidate just means something that they detect which appears to be anomalous. We'll say more about what it is in a minute. And it was interesting. It was interesting because it has this drift rate that I talked about before, caused by the Doppler effect. And as I said earlier, it's not just what we expect from the inevitable drift rate you have to control for with Earth's rotation, and also Earth's orbit, but also it appears to have a drift rate which indicates it's on Proxima b, which is this. It's actually the closest exoplanet to ourselves, to the Earth. And unlike the WOW signal, and unlike the little green men, which I told you about earlier, the first was found in 77, the second in 1967. This has not been, firstly, in the case of the LGM, it was explained as a natural object. In the case of the WOW signal, it was just a one-off, a transient, which came and went. This is still there. This appears to be very, very persistent. And what this has led to a revision of the SETI at home data. Now, SETI at home, I don't know how many of you remember SETI at home. I actually did subscribe to it for a while. But I mentioned it in my SETI talk, and I will put a link in the description box to the recording at AwakeCon, because that's the best one, I think. But SETI at home was a way of clearing the backlog, this huge backlog of data which have been gathered from the entire universe on every single frequency, every single wavelength, every single amplitude have been gathered on these. Basically, it's sitting in the SETI headquarters on reels and reels of magnetic tape and computer disks and things like that, and they're just waiting. It's completely like gross data. It hasn't yet been processed. So that the challenge is not picking up the signal. The challenge is processing the data so we know where the signal is. In fact, if we found a signal, it's probably there. It's probably on that. It's probably already got it, and it's somewhere on these blocks of data which haven't had a chance to be processed. So someone had the idea of creating SETI at home, which means that you use your own computer to help. So they download you the data, and you just use your own computer to sort it out while it's on downtime. It's kind of just a little screenshot saver, really, an alternative to a screensaver. And then you send it back to them, and then they'll know whether you've detected something or not. Someone had the idea of rechecking the SETI at home data to control for drift rate, and they did. And guess what? They found, I think, 7 more extra signals. The most important of which was breakthrough listen 1. But the thing is, according to this person that Simon Holland, he calls himself Professor Simon Holland, but he's actually not actually a professor. It's kind of a nickname, and he admits that. I mean, he doesn't pretend to be anything else. I know Andrew Johnson dislikes him, but is that news? I mean, Andrew Johnson dislikes almost everyone, doesn't he? But he's not a real professor. But then he said he said he found this out because he said there was a new program, a new project was being escalated massively with increased funding to help with this breakthrough listen project run by the EU, not the USA, the EU. New telescopes being thrown up everywhere, all the way from Manchester to Namibia. So the entire basically celestial sphere was covered by that. Because basically, if you're in Manchester at certain times of the year, you can see the North Celestial Pole. In Namibia, you can do the same with the South Celestial Pole. And then someone who Professor Holland, Simon, calls the source of this information. That's all he says about him, the source of this information. I found out from the source of this information. And then again, I've got to say, this is an unbelievable thing. A skeptic would never say that. That's the biggest indicator that, I'd say that Professor Simon Holland has certainly moved off. He's moved out of Skeptic Avenue into sort of like the halfway house between that and Believer Grove, where I am. The Skeppers will castigate for us for that, and so will the backslappers. But he says this source told Simon that the EU network has, in its new analysis, has discovered a modulated signal. So basically what they've discovered is exactly the thing that SETI proponents have been looking for since the days of Drake and Sagan. And as I said, it's been done quietly. It's been done very, very professionally. It's not like the movies, but apparently they don't want to publish too soon because they want to wait until they're 100% certain. And of course, then they might keep sitting on it forever. They might sit on it forever, which is what concerns me. But again, if there's an element of competition injected, they don't want to get the Chinese. If the Chinese might get in there first, you've got to be worried about this. But anyway, and then this has been described as a new wow signal almost. And see, Simon Holland made this video, which I cover in my article, SETI Success. But then I wondered if it would lead anywhere, and it had, because then he followed up with another couple of videos, and the second had this amazing title, which was clickbaity even by his standards. Proof, alien signal. Woohoo! But it is talking about, like, what happened was that he published, I did double check because he published this video, he uploaded it on April the 29th, and I double check and checked that it wasn't April the 1st because I moved away from his channel for a couple of weeks. The Parkes Muriang Observatory, now this is a bit of an infamous place, it's an infamous location in the world of the Apollo hoax theory, picked up a narrowband signal from the star, Proxima Centauri, where breakthrough listen candidate 1 is. But Proxima Centauri, famous for being the nearest star to the Earth apart from the Sun, and it's been listed as a techno signature, possibly generated by an artificial radio source. And actually, if you look at I've got a waterfall chart of it here, which I actually published I wrote an article about this. I'll show you this. Where's the article? Here we go. I don't need that one anymore. You can see this is a waterfall graph here with, it's frequency or wavelength on the x-axis, time on the other. And look, what you see here. This is all background noise, random noise, which is blue and it's haphazard. But then you see these yellow lines. And if any of you watch my gaming videos, the few gaming videos I've done with Dangerous Waters, with the sonar trace on the submarine sonar, if you're familiar with me playing that game, you'll know that it's very similar to the acoustic signatures you get from ships and things at sea. And there you go. You see, these peaks represent elements of the sound mixture in terms of that there I think is amplitude, is intensity, and this is time. So you can see it's not going away. It sort of pulses a little bit and comes and goes, but it's there. It's always there for all these seconds here. So this is something. I mean, I did mention this on a previous video on one of my UFO disclosure videos, and I've covered it on Third Rail Radio as well. Isn't this odd? And when this was discovered, it wasn't like the movies. Like I said, it was all calm and low key. It wasn't like a Jodie Foster moment with the, oh my God, I found a signal. They went to work. The scientists simply stayed quiet. They went to work. They carried on learning more and more about this strange transmission for over a year, controlling for the usual interference problems generated by our own planet, eliminating natural phenomena like pulsars and solar flares and things like that. There's also stellar flares, coronal mass ejections, things like that, because of course other stars create flares as well, like our sun does. And again, they had to discern the drift rate for the candidate that was independent from the inevitable run resulting from the Earth's orbit. As it happens, it revealed the sources orbiting the star. It didn't come directly from the star because it has a drift rate that indicates it is going around its own star in the same way that the Earth is rotating or orbiting the sun. And indeed, Proxima b is sometimes called like an Earth-like planet, a Goldilocks zone Earth's twin type thing. It's slightly bigger than the Earth, but it does correspond to this known planet, which would be extremely interesting considering it's the closest exoplanet to the Earth. Now, if the closest exoplanet to the Earth has an intelligent civilization on it, transmitting signals or giving off signals, or giving off, even if it's just like a radio noise that we've picked up, what does that say for the prevalence of civilizations throughout the galaxy? I know some skeptic will say, well, it's just a coincidence, you know. They will say some of them will say it's a coincidence that the nearest planet to the Earth, outside the solar system, also has life and intelligent life. Yet it's just a coincidence that the only two examples of intelligent life in the entire universe are right next to each other. Oh dear. That's a bit like saying, you know, that that's a bit like claiming that, you know, you get these, for example, you get like an exclusively Jewish district in town, right? And there's thousands and thousands of houses, but there's two guys that eat pork chops, and they happen to be living next door to each other. Now, would that be a coincidence? Of course, it's very unlikely, I think. How come these two guys are breaking the Jewish law and they live next to each other? That kind of thing. There's plenty of other examples I could give. That's just the first one that popped into our head. This is exactly, though, what the SETI movement has been looking for since its inception. It's incredible. Its inception, it sort of dates back to the late 1950s, and the first studies began in 1960, and then Carl Sagan's book Life in the Universe was published, I think, in 1965, and that really popularized the whole idea. There's a Nature article that suggests, you know, this study is going to continue. New computer technology and artificial intelligence might help. It's not been a big mainstream story so far, but anyway. But I still do wonder because he said something weird. Like Holland, I mean, and maybe he was just I'm not saying he's the most honest person in the world. He said things like, it's found he didn't just say it's found a modulated signal, which modulated implies that it is being controlled. Its emission is controlled. He also at one point said there were pictures. Someone had picked up, transmitted pictures, which of course happens in the film Contact. They actually find a clip from the first televised Olympics, the 1933 Olympics in Berlin. They find like a clip of it. Oh, anyway, let's carry on with the article. Hope you guys are doing. Oh, I've done it again. Hope you guys are doing all right. I was going to check the chat box. It's not a live stream, Ben. For goodness sake, don't get those mixed up. For goodness sake, whatever you do, don't live stream when you're trying to record, because you might say or do something embarrassing. Okay. And the news may come within the next month to coincide with the US election. Oh my God. As I said earlier, if Trump can somehow insert himself into this story, that's the ultimate October surprise. He claims that astronomers within the Oxford-based project have identified clear evidence of transmissions from another world. Maybe they have. I almost got the chance to talk to some of them today, but as I said, they probably wouldn't say. I doubt if they'd say anything. Now here we have there is Zuckerberg, the Zuck, and Yuri Milner, he looks like Putin, doesn't he? Maybe it's just a Russian thing, but he has this quite sinister look about him, which you do see with Putin. Although, as I've said before, I think I like Putin. He's one of the few statesmen I feel any sense of respect for. But this is this oligarch here from Russia, who is actually who's actually working on this in getting this kind of like job done, basically getting SETI, funding it properly and getting the job done. He wants to discover a signal from another planet. They found evidence of a non-human technological signature a few years ago using the Parkes telescope in observatory, Simon says. Such an extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Oh, that one again. Oh no, I'm not gonna go. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Just watch one of my skeptic videos. Watch my skeptic talks. And the team, funded by billionaires Mark Zuckerberg and Yuri Milner, are racing to gather more evidence to support their potentially game-changing discovery. Oh, we got a quiz here. Look, we got a quiz. Oh, it's an opinion poll. It's not a quiz. You don't win anything. It's an opinion poll. Do you believe in aliens? No, I don't. Of course I know. Of course I do. Here we go. Let's see what happens if I click that. Next, let's just probably be nice just to look at some adverts. Here we go. Sign up to our newsletter. No. Submit and see the polls. All right. I'm not signing up to your newsletter. Does that mean I can't see the polls unless I do? Oh, get out of the way. Verifying. All right. Right. Oh, here we go. Look. Whoa! Who do you believe in aliens? Yes, I do. The truth is out there. 86%. No, I don't. 8%. Other 6%. Wow, that's quite something. I've got a little confession to make. Actually, I looked at this article a few hours ago on my phone, and I actually did the quiz on my phone. So I put 2 votes in. All right, but there's going to be millions of people reading this article. It's not like one of my own. But that's good. In 86%. Meanwhile, Simon says this. Now, remember that game? Simon says they risk being beaten to the finish line. He continued, "This is breaking news as of yesterday, but the Chinese might be pipping them to the post with their FAST, the 500-meter aperture spherical telescope program. It's the largest telescope in the world since Arecibo. Yeah, it's very similar to Arecibo's design. This is it here." Which is this huge radio telescope in China, but it's much bigger and more sophisticated than the Arecibo one in Puerto Rico. And it's trying to do the same job. This is where the competition is, because it actually says here the coordinates to the target. That's not. Is it Simon talking now? Oh no, maybe it's the other guy. The coordinates to the target object, which is known as BLC1, are supposedly known to the Chinese, and the 2 teams are competing to become the first to make the hugely prestigious announcement. And this is the FAST here, this telescope. 5 potential techno signature candidates were identified. This is simply this bit here is just a repeat of what I said earlier. I'll go off screen share. Whatever the source of BLC's signal, it turns out to be, Simon stresses, it's like no known natural phenomena. It's a single point source, not just noise. The signal, instead of being the giant buzz of everything in the universe we hear through our radio telescopes, was a narrow band electromagnetic spectrum. And this is possibly what Proxima b looks like. Yeah, that could be it. I assume that's the moon of Proxima B then. If confirmed, the breakthrough listen discovery will be the first hard evidence of intelligent life anywhere in the universe. Well, I disagree with that, but I'll come on to that. Astronomers have been excited by potential alien transmissions before. When pulsars were first discovered, they were catalogued as LGM, Little Green Men Object, and the 1977 WOW signal. It's never been definitely identified, but Simon believes this time it could be the real thing. Well, as I said before, it is different to both of those examples. The scientists are understandably exercising extreme caution before making the epochal announcement. Yeah, but if they show too much caution, the bloody chinks will get in there first. Yeah, no, you can't be beaten by the Chinese. The Chinese are beating us at everything else, and for goodness sake, we can't let them beat us at this, can we? But Simon believes it could come either from Breakthrough Listen in Oxford or from the Chinese team at any time within the next month or so. It would be wonderful if it oh God, oh no. I'm embarrassed to read this. It would be wonderful if it coincided with the first woman in the White House. He jokes. Oh, he jokes. Thank goodness for that. Oh, I was going to think he was like a Harris fan. Oh, dearie me. The first woman president. Oh, that'd be awful, wouldn't it? I think that's the end of the article. Let's have a look. Yeah. Oh, here's some. Let's have a look at the comments here. Should I put a comment in? Oh, do I have to log in? I'm not going to log in. But BLC, here we go. Look. BLC, this is day vid at 7. BLC1 determined to be a radio interference in 2021. The source is Barclay. I was confused why this would be erroneous reported so severely. Then the political remark at closing makes it very clear. RIP to journalism. Well, David, you're reading the Daily Mirror. What do you expect? Quality journalism? Journalism died the day this newspaper was first published. Coop7 says, don't know why scientists are excited if non-human means machines, like the dreaded Borg. They will be excited when these machines find us and kill us, including the scientists, or will they be spared? I for one, welcome our robot overlords. It says here, Nick says, might be worth updating this article and clarifying that Professor Simon Holland is not actually a professor. It's his YouTube handle. 10 seconds of research would have showed you that. All right. Well, again, go and read something else if you don't like it. Reggie Stinker says, if this is true, get ready for rewording and reinterpretation of the Holy Scriptures from all the usual suspects. Well, religions have survived. They've survived the blow dealt by Charles Darwin. And if they can survive that, they can survive anything. Northern Dog Lover says, Michael, you need to check your work. Tut tut, it's civilization. Oh, is he misspelt something? More comments here. I'm not going to read all of these. Arbis says it's only going to confirm what most of us already know. The cosmos is teeming with life. We're so arrogant to think that everything was created just for us, a species that can't even have one day of peace in the history of so-called civilization. God give me strength. Of course, and I mean we know that as well, Arbis, because from other areas of other areas of study, which of course I'll talk about. Franco Prairie says, it would be wonderful if it coincided with the first woman in the White House. Sorry to disappoint you, but it'll be Trump in the White House. Can I click like on that? Will it allow me to click like? No. Oh, no, I've got to sign up. I'm not signing up to you bastards. No way. Fuck off. Ha, keep on dreaming, says Rod35. Petera. It's only Katie Price on holiday in Cyprus. Hang on. And somebody laughed at that. Oh, where we go? I think there's too many. There's so many of these. I'm not going to keep going on about them. But it's interesting to look at a few of these comments. I suppose it is interesting to look at a few of them. So that basically is the story so far. We don't know much more. I mean, there's been other issues, other things that have been talked about as well. I mean, I did bring this up in the UFO disclosure video, but I don't know if you know the Vetted podcast. I've become a big fan of the Vetted. His name's a guy called Patrick, who does the Vetted podcast. If you've not seen it, I mean, it's brilliant. It's total like UFO. This is a pure UFO podcast. So he's kind of on my end of things rather than on my end of things instead of, I'd say, the Simon. Although he does feature Simon a lot. For example, this is his video about Simon's video here. But the most interesting video they've done so far, and he does daily videos. He actually says, "I do not miss a day, y'all." He talks like he's from Texas, USA, and he talks like that. And there's several of these very interesting things. So, for example, I'd say this one, UFO News Catch Up with Special Guest. This is basically him and
because that's just so interesting to see.
I just wish he was a little bit closer.
Yeah, Nueva Jersey. Actually, I could see.
This is one of the things he did.
Oh, one last.
But there's this one as well. James Webb discovers. Where's the first one of this? Because there's like, here we go. I thought there were two of these. Oh, no, here it is. Here's the first one. James Webb telescopes. This is interesting.
What I think is actually happening.
There's Simon, and there's a couple of other people there. There's Patrick, the host, and there's these two other guys, Clint and Pavel Psychoactivo. Well, I don't know very well. But he says, James Webb telescope detects non-human object heading for the Earth. I mentioned this on my last UFO disclosure video. And what they're asserting is that the James Webb telescope, and there's a part 2. I should show you the part 2, shouldn't I? Here we go. So my nose itches when I'm talking a lot. James Webb, this is the second part of this, which I've also watched.
I'll tell you where it came from.
And there's Simon, and there's someone called Dr. Dan instead of Psychoactivo, and there's Clint there. There's Simon, and this is basically, say, James Webb telescope discovers non-human object heading for the Earth, part 2. This is, you can read in the description. Patrick follows up his discussion about an alleged James Webb telescope discovery that could change Earth forever. A massive non-human object is heading for our planet. It's been covered up. Right. I mean, I do think I made this point before, but that actual scenario is so similar to the book and the film and the TV series called Three Body Problem. I just actually reviewed Three Body Problem on the, if you're familiar with Hapanwo Voice, I have done a review of that. I'm just fiddling with my notes here. So it's just that is kind of the scenario in that particular. That's the scenario in this particular book, and the book is better than the TV series, by the way. So it could be that it just comes from that, and it's kind of got out of hand. And indeed, as I say, I always look at what the skeptics say, and if you Google this particular subject, there are some resources here. Did JWST detect aliens? So I just Google that. No, it says here, no, the James Webb telescope probably didn't detect signs of alien life, but it could. Oh, and it's just talking about, it did. There was this incident where there was this incident in which it detected possible organic chemistry on a planet. I remember, but I should make my spaceship. Yeah, did it detect a spaceship? And there's loads of videos of this. James Webb telescope detected a terrifying object. The story is that basically the James Webb Space Telescope, which is exactly that. In fact, you saw a picture of it in the opening titles to this particular film. It's a giant radio telescope in space. Well, it's not giant, but it's in space, which means it can do a much better job of searching the universe because it doesn't have to cope with interference from the Earth. And it doesn't have to cope with the atmospheric interference and the radio pollution, electromagnetic pollution, like a telescope on the Earth's surface would. Telescopes on the Earth's surface are sometimes compared to lying on the bottom of a muddy pond looking up at the sky. If you get above the pond, then you can see better. It's discovered a lot of very interesting things, the JWST. But did it discover alien? Did it actually discover this spaceship heading for the Earth? Now, this is from Snopes. Now, the thing about I'm not. This is not an endorsement of Snopes' opinion on everything, all right? Because Snopes is kind of like a skeptic fact check newspaper or news resource. But Snopes is sometimes wrong. In fact, Snopes has been fact checked over various things and been found to be wrong. Yeah, no. I don't want truth delivered. Thanks. You don't decide what's true or not. It's not necessarily true. It's not truth. The James Webb Space Telescope spotted non-natural object moving towards the Earth. The rumor claimed that why can't Americans spell properly? It's Roummour. They claimed that JWST observed the object, changing its trajectory, implying it was some sort of spaceship, which is what is described in. That's actually described in the videos I just showed you from Vetted. Claim. In September 2024, the James Webb Space Telescope observed a large, non-natural object about 10 light years away from the Earth moving towards the planet. Unfounded, right. That's not the same as false, though, is it? I think they have different levels of rating. Here we go. Unfounded. This rating applies to a claim we've investigated but found no demonstrable evidence to. I mean, how do they do their ratings? I think there's different kinds of ratings, and the false and unfounded have a different sort of weight to them. In September 2024, what's a Snopes voice? I don't know. I'll keep you on screen share so you just know when I'm talking and when it isn't. When this is. In late September 2024, users on various social media, including X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok, posted claims that the James Webb Space Telescope had just discovered extraterrestrial life. According to these posts, the JWST spotted a large object about 10 light years away from the Earth moving towards the planet. The post claimed that the object had to be some sort of alien spaceship because JWST had observed the object changed its trajectory in an unnatural manner. So in other words, like Oumuamua did, but that was real. Alleged picture of it. Truth poll, I don't know them. Do you think another Oumuamua object or something else? Let's have a look. The earliest reference was from September the 17th, 2024, a YouTube video explaining the supposed discovery uploaded to the Psychoactivo podcast. So that is Pavel, the guy who was interviewed. I see. It's on his podcast. So you go there and it explains where it is. And it mentions here, it claims it claims that there, as I've explained before, there's a claim that a congressional hearing has already been taken place about this. UFO and alien content creators began discussing the rumor on the 21st of September. Ask a Poll, a Washington DC-based press corps, asked politicians questions submitted by social media users and spoke with U.S. Representative Andre Carson. All right, he's come up before because he was on the committee, which when they had the UFO hearing, and it just mentions this here. Yeah, and someone pointed out, no comment is not confirmation that it happened. All right, of course. We found no information on the supposed finding from NASA or other space agencies, nor from any branch of Congress. All right. Yeah, there's been several publications making this claim, saying that this was found. Now, as I said, Snopes has been fact-checked and found to be wrong. Snopes is just a skeptic resource, really. And skeptics, of course, are sometimes wrong, are they not? So I don't necessarily believe everything you see on Snopes. But, I'm inclined to believe them this time. And the reason is, and I did discuss this in my last UFO disclosure video, where I discussed a few extra details there, but they claim there was a secret hearing in Congress about this and that they were trying to keep it from the people because they were scared of public panic. The thing is, if, for example, there was a spacecraft heading towards the Earth and adjusting its course and JWST picked it up, this means that everyone who receives a feed from the JWST would know about it, because this is not like some spy satellite where it's that there's encrypted messages sent to a secure location somewhere in the Pentagon, it's very much open source. That different universities around the world, including the one I went to earlier, the Oxford University Department of Physics, receive feeds from JWST. Now, the first problem is that you once all those people knew about it, it would be a very top-heavy conspiracy. You'd have to convince every single one to be quiet, and they could be in many different countries. They probably are in many different countries, and they're not there to observe aliens. They're there to work on stars and planets and things like that. They're astronomers, not ufologists. And when faced with an alien appearance, their first instinct would be certainly to discuss it amongst their colleagues in many different countries around the world. This happened in the scenario in Contact with Jodie Foster. So many people are talking to each other all the time. Inevitably, it leaks to the press. Now, that's not the whole of the problem, because you could say, well, maybe the government has some kind of backdoor kill switch, like the NSA is alleged and the CIA is alleged to have over people's mobile phones, which they haven't told the astronomers or of NASA about. Well, if that's the case, that doesn't preclude from the fact that everyone would notice if the feed was cut off or encrypted in some way. Everyone would know where the telescope had been looking at the time the feed was cut off, and other telescopes would be able to zoom in on it, like the FAST in China, like the Parkes Observatory, like all the telescopes, all these astronomical telescopes in the world would immediately focus on that particular part of the sky. Not to mention the amateurs involved. I mean, amateur people can log in and receive data from these telescopes as well. Anyone in the world could. And astronomy is a very popular hobby around the world. Millions and millions of people have their own telescopes and have access to the online feeds from professional astronomical optical and radio telescopes. So you can bet that a cutoff of the JWST feed would immediately cause everyone to go, what's going on over there? Now, with all those telescopes focused on the same spot, even from the bottom of the muddy pond, they would see whatever JWST was not allowed to look at. And then millions of people would know about it. How do you keep millions of people quiet? I made this point in my SETI talk, right? I did make this point in my SETI talk, which was, okay, could they cover up something? I mean, this is okay. Is it possible that they find an alien signal from a planet from somewhere so far away, and then they decide to cover it up? It's a reasonable thing to wonder. It's perfectly reasonable and perfectly logical, and I think sensible to suggest that they might have the motivation for that. You're familiar with the Brookings Institute, which I've discovered I've discussed that in many other videos. You know, the article from the Brookings Institute, brought out in 1960 at the start of the space program, warning NASA, warning the Soviet Space Agency, do not, think twice before you broadcast things from the rooftops if you find intelligent life out there. So if they would do this, if they could do this, would they? Would they actually cover up this if they would? Would they actually do this cover up if they could? And the answer is yes, of course, if they could. But the question is, could they? I'll come on to the could they in a minute. But there are reasons why the implications are slightly different, which means the political situation would be slightly different. So for this, it's a very, very big thing for Biden. It wouldn't be Biden; it would be somebody else to stand on a podium and say, supposing it's the Vice President Kamala Harris, who hopefully will never be president, and say, we've discovered out there in the universe there's a signal from a planet in the Orion constellation 15 light years away that's broadcasting signals at us. All right, that's one. The implications of that are, well, it doesn't really matter. It's 15 light years away. That's so far away. It doesn't really bother us. Let them signal us if they want. They're aliens on their own planet. We're on our planet. Who cares? But that's a very, very different implication to saying to Harris, Kamala Harris, or say, what's his name? The bloke in England, the bloke in Britain. What's his name? Keir Starmer. He's not the most charismatic not the most memorable, not the most memorable prime minister in history, is he? I forgot his name there. Just imagine him going up on a podium and saying, "Good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about something interesting today. Yes, there's aliens in the Orion constellation at this star broadcasting at us." Again, that's very, very different to a different statement, which would be, it's a very, very different thing to say that to saying, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you something interesting. This is Kamala Harris again. There are aliens, and they are, yes, I'm, and they're actually not out on that planet in Sirius, 15 light years away. They're on Earth with us. There are aliens that have come from these distant planets and maybe other dimensions as well, and they're actually here on Earth with us. Yeah, that's right. And they can penetrate our nuclear facilities. Our military is defenseless against them. They abduct people at will, and there's nothing we can do to stop them, I'm afraid. And yep, that's the position we're in, ladies and gentlemen. Knowing her, she'd probably add something like, the great American girl boss, she has to say it. And I do hope they abduct these disgusting white people so I don't have to look at them anymore. Filthy creatures. But anyway, think about those two things. I was imagining Starmer going, "Oh yes, well, the aliens are here, but they're actually with us on this planet right now." It's just the implications of those two statements are very different, aren't they? It's one thing to have aliens millions and millions of light years away. It's very different to have them on the planet with us, and the fact that they are they're potentially a threat. I mean, in military parlance, they are a threat because there's nothing we can do to stop them doing whatever they want. Two very, very different things. The question is, though, could they? This is the next. Oh, just a sec. This is the next question. Right. This is the next question. Right. Not would they? Because of course they would. Maybe if they could, because as I said, it's different implications for the two different announcements. Would they? Would they? And the answer is. I mean, the answer is would they, but the answer is could they? Could they if they wanted to? So supposing, despite the the less destructive or worrying implications, would they cover up? Could they cover up? Would they cover it up? We don't know. Could they? The answer is no. They couldn't cover it up for the reasons I've just said. There's too many telescopes. Too many. The astronomy is the one truly democratic science. All the data is above our heads. Anyone can see it with the right equipment or access to the right equipment. And this day and age, anyone can log into the feed from a major telescope. They couldn't cover that up. It's one thing. It's one thing to, covering up a crash retrieval is comparatively very easy. A crash retrieval. In terms of the practicalities here, the flows of information between these two scenarios are very, very different indeed. The flow of information from a UFO crash retrieval is very narrow and it's very controllable. You just put a fence around where the UFO came down. You put the military around to stop people going in. You get rid of the decisive physical evidence, and you put out some cover story about a weather balloon or swamp gas or people being crazy or a hoax. That's what you do. Or a lighthouse, something like that. So yeah, you just seal it off, get out, fake story. That's all you need. Seal it off, get it out, fake the story. With a cover-up of SETI, you can't, you've got to somehow find a way to stop all the people who could see that signal or see whatever's out there from seeing it, and you can't. But really, when it comes down to it, it's kind of, I mean, everything I've said in this video before, up till now, it's kind of a moot point, isn't it? It's really irrelevant because they are here. I mean, this is a solution to Fermi's paradox. Fermi said, well, there's so many stars out there, and some of them are much older than the Earth. So if there's aliens out there, where aren't they? Why haven't they reached us? Well, the solution is very simple. They have reached us. They are here. They've been here for probably longer than we have. And this is the point of this particular meme behind me, which I created. I created this meme from the photograph of the Carl G. Jansky Very Large Array, which is actually featured in the film Contact. And there's the, I'm doing it again, there's the flying saucer there. They're looking for something millions of light years away. And where is it? Is it here? And there's this UFO buzzing a few dozen feet over their head, and they're ignoring it. That's the irony. This is why Stanton Friedman called this a silly effort to investigate. That's what he said SETI stood for, a silly effort to investigate. Oh, God, I missed that guy. And Steve Bassett is even more scathing. He says this is part of the cover-up, and indeed, it could be. It's what if it could be part of the cover-up? I mean, it's when we're looking, when we are. I mean, there's two ways to interpret this, because of course a lot of people, and Steve Bassett believes this, that focusing on SETI and pouring massive amounts of money and attention and media sensation into SETI, including the story I've covered here, is going to stop people believing in UFOs, and it's going to distract people from the whole UFO phenomenon. But I'm not so sure. I think possibly turning people's eyes skyward and just simply making them think about, well, there are aliens out there? Why aren't they down here? They've had plenty of time to find us. We're building spaceships, so why haven't they built more sophisticated spaceships? Because they've been there longer than us. What if they are here already? I know. I'll start with these UFOs. What are they? Maybe that's them. So it could have it could backfire in that sense, if that is the intention of SETI. It could backfire and have a knock-on effect that benefits ufology and actually leads to UFO disclosure. I go into more details about this in my SETI talk. So that's it. That's an interesting point. Right. Well, I don't think I can add any more really at this point. If I do, of course, I can. If there's an announcement about this in the next month, obviously, I will cover that in detail. Definitely. But before I go, I just want to let you know about something completely off topic, a completely different topic. A lot of people have asked me about the David Icke in Oxford, because David Icke actually spoke here in Oxford, in my own city, and I went to go and see him. And people have asked me about that. I haven't made a video about this particular event, but I have covered it on Hapanui Voice. If you don't follow me on Hapanui Voice, you're missing something. Look, it's actually, oh, well, that's the WakeCon thing. Here it is. David Icke live in Oxford. I've done a review there, and you can go and look at that. There's some photos I took of myself and my friends. There's the Crafty Nihilist and Tony and things like that. And then the Crafty Nihilist and we did a little video, and you can go to their channel and watch it, because we did a little video interview about the whole thing.
Names in cars.
There's this one here, live stream and informal chat about the David Icke event, and you'll see me there.
These beings that
with Nick, with Nick the Gardener. So yeah, so if you want to know more about, that event if you want to know more about that event in Oxford, then that's the thing to do. And he was, I'll say. I mean, you can read it for yourself, but I do think that David did a fantastic job. He's lost none of his charisma. He's obviously getting on a bit now. He's frailer than he used to be, but his mind is still racing, and he's still bringing out information. He's still really good. So there's still a few tickets on sale for the Birmingham event. So if you can get to that in a couple of weeks, do so. Go to David Icke. Just Google David Icke 2024 tour, and you can go and see it. So what's happening next? Well, you've had a hat trick, really, haven't you? I've actually been very productive over the weekend. I've done 3 videos in as many days. This is to make up for my week off. And indeed, I mean, you see, I just don't have time to do things. Now I've done this, I won't have time to do Third Rail Radio today. So that's going to be a bit of a disappointment to some people. But I will come back to Third Rail Radio at some point, I promise. But anyway, what's happening next? Another reason I've done 3 videos in a row is because I'm going to be away again for about a week. Obviously, I'm probably not going to be able to do another video before I go away to this surprise event, which I'm going to leave as a surprise for you guys next weekend. I'm going to an event which I won't tell you about just yet, but there will be a video about it which will reveal everything. It'll all be revealed. It's not a swingers club, as somebody asked. So if I did that, it wouldn't be on YouTube. It'd be on another video sharing site. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a another reportage. Okay, but that's next weekend. So probably my next video will be the reportage of that event, which I'll be uploading probably in about a week's time. Okay. I'll take my laptop with me and try and do a bit of on-location editing, so make it a little bit quicker rather than all the waiting around. But anyway, I'll miss you on Hapanmo TV for a while. But do remember, I'm still doing Hapanmo Radio and Hapanmo Voice in this week. All right. So thank you all of you for once again, for the third time, this weekend for watching Hapanmo TV. I hope you enjoyed the other two videos. There's more coming soon. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.